It's not that the gold price is going up, it's the purchasing power of your dollar that's going down, and it's going to keep going down. So keep buying gold as your protection. Visit my friends at sdbullion.com and they will help get you the metal you need. New week, new month. Greetings to everybody at TFMR. It's Monday, March the 2nd, and it is time for your daily podcast. Boy, oh boy, things have sure changed since the last time we recorded a podcast 72 hours ago. As we wrote on Friday and as we discussed on Friday, it sure seemed as though things were pointed in this direction, war. And as we've been discussing for a couple of weeks, the reference point I kept giving you was Rubio discussing things after they grabbed up Maduro and how Trump is going to be a president of action. And there's no going to be no more empty letters of condemnation, all that stuff. So the buildup was done for a reason. And now here we are. A lot of hope that this is going to be a quick operation. But even Trump, who's obviously prone to grandiose statements and hyperbole, is out there saying, you better hunker down. We're going to lose some people, and this is going to go on not just for days, but for weeks. And of course, as we've been writing, that opens up the whole box of unknown unknowns and unforeseen consequences. We'll take it day by day and try to make sense of it all here at TFMR as best we can. But, the thing I'd like you to be wary of as you think about this, there's this assumption that, it's just going to end, like the thing back in June or anything else that's gone on in the Middle East the last couple of years. This will just, blow over. Okay, we can all hope and pray that it does. But if this does truly become an existential threat to the leadership in Iran, now, again, you say it already has become that, right? They wipe out the Ayatollah, right? And Ahmadinejad, the old president, and the head of the IRGC, all that stuff. So what do I mean? If it becomes one, if we get to the point where it's not just an existential threat to the regime, but yet the regime is close to falling. If it looks like they're on their way out, I'd be very wary of a scorched earth policy here. What do I mean by that? Do you remember Saddam in 91 lighting all the oil fields on fire? That sort of thing? Okay, this is what I think you have to be wary of. So we'll see how it all goes. It's going to be an interesting week. It's going to be an interesting month, for that matter. And we'll, just like I said, take it day by day. The big news this afternoon was the head of the IRGC coming out and saying, we will no longer allow ships through the Strait of Hormuz. It is effectively closed. And then you get this parade of goofs. Like I saw a tweet from one of the anchors on CNBS. They can't close anything. It's not like it's theirs to close and there's like a gate that they can close. You need to understand there's no closing anything. Like, why the rush to try to spin this? Yeah, it's not like it's theirs and they're going to hang a shingle on the door that says, close, be back after lunch. It doesn't work that way. But if they can show a credible threat to sink anything that travels through there, then for all intents and purposes, it's closed. Roll in a few surface-to-surface missiles, light a few off, and there's nothing that's moving through there. The ship, sink one, light one on fire, nothing's going to go. And it's not that so much, not only these billion-dollar ships with their cargoes, they can't move because you can't get insurance for the ship and the cargo. And so everything just grinds to a halt. And that's on the upside. Like I said, maybe they're so worried that nothing moves because they've said it's close. But what if they actually do light off a couple of missiles and sink a couple of ships and leave a couple burnings in some sort of scorched earth, scorched Gulf fashion. So then trickle that down. What if this does lead to elevated oil prices? What does that do to economies around the world? And if all of a sudden we're trimming GDP all through the West and everywhere else, does that mean that interest rates come down? How does that impact Forex? How does this, if GDP is falling off, how does this impact what the Fed wants to do? Rising energy costs. What does that do to mining earnings per share? I mean, all these things. So we can all sit here and harumph, wave a flag and talk about how patriotic we are, or bitch and moan about Orange Man bad and it doesn't matter who he kills and how horrible of a person and how many thousands of people they've killed and raped and tortured in their own country, and it's a good thing he's dead, but Orange Man bad, so it must be bad. Look, we can have all of our little political things, and you can please take that wherever you want to take it on other websites, okay? What we have to try to focus on here is big picture, look over the horizon, assess what the threats are, and act accordingly. What will the metals do in all this? What will the dollar do? How will this impact the bond market? How will this impact the Fed? How will this impact the relationship between U.S. and China, China with India, relationships throughout the Mideast? Okay? That's what I'm going to try to focus on. I ask you all to do the same. You're doing a great job so far. Let's keep it up. Then you get days like today, okay? Hang on, humming along just fine. $95 COMEX silver when COMEX opened. And it immediately gets smashed with a low all the way down below 87. COMEX closes and it begins to rally back. How about that? So what's the deal here? Well, as we've always said and joked about, World War III could start. You could light off a nuclear bomb in Times Square. But if it causes a safe haven bid for the dollar index, the metals are going to get sold off. We always joked about that. Well, that's exactly what you got today. Dollar index up a point. Bond market selling off. No safe haven bid in bonds. Yields up 10 basis points across the curve. Bad double barrel thing for gold. Gold goes down. Silver goes down further. Silver's open interest after Friday now down to 115,409. Remember the all-time high, 244,000. 115,000, lowest since July the 3rd of 2023. So what do you have here? This is why we have this tremendous volatility. Up $5.71 on Friday, down $3 as I speak today. Because it's a very thin market. Very few market participants. Again, open interest, 40% of its all-time high. Another way of saying down 60% from its all-time high. Very thin markets. In thin markets, like the afternoon Globex, pretty easy to overwhelm the bid or overwhelm the offer for that matter. And you get very wide ranges, very large 1-minute candles. And that's what we got today. Really, the best you can do is average it out. Like I said, up 571 on Friday. Right now, as I speak, down 356 and back down under 90. Imagine that. It was just 91 a few minutes ago. Now we're back under 90. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about. Crude oil, all over the place. As high as $74.99 at the open last night. Then down to $69.34. Back up to about $71.50 or so, almost 72 on the announcement of closing the Strait of Hormuz. Right now, $71.30, up $4.30, 6.5%. And we'll just see where we go from here. It's going to be a long week, very long week. And like I said, we're going to take it day by day. All right, what do you have on this page? 3 links, handful of images, couple of charts. Let's do it. Here's a link from Zero Hedge, updated as of just before the New York Stock Exchange closed not quite an hour ago as I record this. Hormuz paralyzed. Another tanker hit. Floating parking lot of ships swells. And again, you can see everybody on either side not wanting to go through. U.S. Central Command says that that the U.S. has sunk 11 ships, degraded Iranian Navy, all that kind of stuff. That's fine. You're not going to use the Navy to go out and do this stuff anyway because of the air superiority of the U.S. and Israel. You know what you're going to do? If you've got them, you're going to use missiles. So we'll see. Anyway, that's link number one. Here's the issue. This is a Reuters story, but I found it reprinted on a source or a site called gcaptain.com. So this looks like get daily insights that power maritime professionals worldwide. This looks like an interesting site. Anyway, full reprint of this Reuters story. Ship war risk insurance canceled after Iranian strikes. Insurers cancel war risk cover. Companies including Guard, Scold, North Standard, and London P&I Club said their cancellations would take effect from March 5, according to notices dated yesterday. War risk cover will be excluded in Iranian waters, such as the Gulf and adjacent waters. Okay? So this is all it takes. It's not, they can't close it, it's not theirs. Yeah, that's just... Anyway, okay, so there you go. And then, hey, how about some traditional, just some fun stuff? Tasico, a company that I own. Hey, look at this. Tasico's Florence mine delivers first new U.S. copper in 17 years. How about that? First new copper production from a greenfield project in the U.S. since 2008. Tasico, something I started buying last month. I'm now up to 3,000 shares. By the way, did you see some of our shares today? I know it was a crazy day, right? Did you see that crazy hydrograph? It's now almost 6. Up another point today. How about, what was the other one that jumped off the page? Oh, Highmark, of course. Up another 10% today, now pushing 56. So there's at least some good stuff out there. All right, images. Here was the headline from earlier this afternoon. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps commander says Strait of Hormuz is closed, and that Iran will set fire to any ship trying to pass. So what happened? Dollar had been trending lower on the afternoon. With that, gold and silver had been trending higher on the afternoon. And then all of a sudden, spike. And you can see exact same time this hit, crude oil spiked as well. Actually north of 72, all the way at 72.65 when I printed this. But, there's nothing to worry about, obviously, because now crude's all the way back down to 71.41. Okay. Oh, gosh. All right. Anyway, this is news earlier about the Iranian news agency said that they'd hit a ship called the Athanova. Whatever. And OSINT Defender said apparently, yeah, that might be true. So anyway, these are the kind of headlines that we've got to be watching. This little summary from Zero Hedge. Main thing is Trump says a big wave is coming against Iran. Of course, we're also in the time of Purim, which, if I remember right, is a Jewish holiday about celebrating the freeing of the Jews from Persia. Esther. I used to read the story of Esther to LT number 2. She always thought that was a great one. The evil, wicked Haman. And Esther set the king straight. Anyway, all of that is now. There's a blood moon tonight, too. A lunar eclipse. A big wave is coming. But yeah, sell those crude futures, man. Chris Martinson pointing out what a scam this all is. Sure. Using markets to signal mechanisms to try to falsely proclaim to U.S. citizens that all is fine. Yeah, everything's identical. I'm sure that's all just complete coincidence. Sure it is. Of course it is. Give me a break. Back to some regular news. Inflation is picking up. Now, whether this will impact things at all in terms of rate cuts, we'll see. This is an interesting thing I picked up. I think I saw this earlier today or maybe over the weekend. Interesting changes in the world's top gold producers. Look at the production going down at Newmont, staying the same at AM, going down at Barrick. A lot of these going down. Kinross going down. Again, all these companies just minting cash quarter over quarter, but not necessarily giving it back to shareholders with dividends, one-time cash dividends, ongoing quarterly dividends. How about buying back stock? At some point, there will be a wave of M&A, and hopefully we'll participate in some of that. And then finally, here's a list I found apparently of our buddy Eric's holdings in billions. He's got $1.9 billion worth of Hycroft now. 37 million shares. Is that right? Goodness gracious. And then you can see his next big position is Discovery Silver, run by his old buddy Tony McCooch. A couple of others he's spoken about with us on lots of occasions. America's Gold and Silver, Jaguar, he's always been a big fan of Jag. Free Gold, Newfound, Abra, Erdene, which is out there in Mongolia. I don't own Erdene, but I own Steppe. BlackRock Silver, another old favorite of Dr. Henny. Anyway, you just go down the list if you thought maybe some of you would find that to be helpful. Finally, to your charts, dollar index soaring today, but look at that. Peaking out right at the upper band or upper bound of this pennant that it's in. So we'll see. I mean, gets through there. Next resistance is another point higher, 99.5. So I'd rather not see that happen. Neither would you. But ain't that interesting? Right there on it today. Just a couple more. Gold on the daily chart. Now I printed this 53.53. I've got a last 53.43. Okay, moving up though, that's still, again, within shouting distance. Very close to an all-time closing high. The all-time closing high, maybe we can take a stab at this tomorrow, back on Thursday, January the 29th. The red candle before the big red candle of January the 30th. Thursday, January 29th, all-time closing high for this now front month April gold was 53.55. So, what do you say we watch that tomorrow with the last of 53.42? Then to your daily silver chart. Remember we were talking about this last week? Had to get through 85 because it'd been in that boundary between 85 and 70. Got through 85. Spent a lot of last week using 85 as support. But the next resistance was clearly 90 and then 95. Go back to like podcasts from early last week or even the week before. We spoke about getting above 85. But then it needed 90 and then 95. And once above 95, then we could really get cooking. Well, today what did we get to? 96.93. Where were we right when the COMEX opened? 95. Anyway, I've got a last. I printed this at 90.32. I've got a last of 89.62. And I'll remind you that Shanghai closed today at 108. GDX, okay, not bad. Low today on the GDX as low as 111.37. Finished a full 4 points higher from off that low, I mean. Down 47 cents in the end, but 4 points off the low. It traded as high as 117.18. That was an all-time high at that point. Then dumped nearly 6 points, 5%, but then came up 4 points. Finished 115.37. AEM, new all-time high today. 252.19, up a point. Not bad. And then lastly, I just thought I'd combine these charts. You're like, hey, Turd, you screwed up. That's the same chart twice. And at first glance, I could see why you'd think that. They are nearly identical. I mean like 99% identical, but it's not the same chart. One is the SIL. The other one is the SILJ. And again, if you look closely, you'll see some very subtle differences, even just for the candle today. Little bigger red hammer on the SIL than on the SILJ. My point in showing you this is, what's the difference? I mean, I guess the SIL is about 3x the price of the SILJ, so you want more bang for your buck in terms of movement. There's going to be the SIL. And I'd also note, these are both back to their highs of late January, making some new all-time closing highs, right? But will they be a double top? Well, we'll see about that. You'd have to come break all the way down through 31 in the Silge and all the way down through 90 or so in the SIL before you could call it a double top. I think they can continue to head higher. I think silver's going to continue to head higher too as we go through the week, because I will remind you, it is only Monday. And it's not how you begin the week that matters. It's how you end it. We're just ready to wrap up the afternoon, and we'll see where things go this evening. Gold has backed off. When I wrote down my numbers for this podcast, it was 53.50 up 102. It's right now 53.40 up 92. Silver's even less fun. Like I said, it got all the way up above 90 and 91. But now it's back down to 89.72, down 3.50 on the day. I got a lasting crude of 71.41. That's where we are as Monday comes to a close. Where will we be when Tuesday comes to a close? Okay, we'll find out soon enough. Thank you for listening. Again, we'll take this one day at a time. We'll try to make sense of it all. Please help as best you can. No need for partisanship, especially at times like this. Let's all try to help each other out and try to provide as much useful information as we can as we see our little TFMR ship through the storm. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. It's your pal Turd Ferguson signing off, and I'm out.